in my demo, what I prepared is, first of all, I downloaded the example CSV file that I uploaded into the bucket, and I wanted to reproduce some sort of a usual pattern for the data ingestion and then transformation, and everything is GCP native. So in my sample data bucket, I have a CSV file that is called cities.csv, and then in the data form, because I wanted to use it explicitly and make it native for GCP, as I said, I have created a repository that is called cities. Inside of this one, I created a workspace called dev, and inside of this dev repository and workspace, I have 3 files pretty much. The first one is a landing, where we create external table that would be called landing. Then after this one, I have some aggregation that is a view in my case, that would be called cities count, and yeah, just some random now over here. And of course, it's not a finance report that I hinted at in the beginning of the video, but still it is something similar. So this one is just, imagine we are trying to find a duplicate in a city. And after that, I have one last total that in that case is already a materialized table. And here I'm just counting the total number of cities based on cities count, so on that aggregation. All in all, when I will go to my studio, I can see that in my query, so like select star from test data, which is the name of my dataset, cities total, that is the very last table that I have in my chain, and I will get the result that there are 121 city. But imagine that this number is incorrect. So what are you going to do? Someone will start asking questions on Slack. So does anyone know where that 1 comes from? Well, that will not really help you, and it will not solve your situation. But what you can do instead is to enable the data lineage API in Google Cloud. And after this API is enabled, you would be able to go to the cities total itself, and here you would be able to click on a lineage and see the whole lineage of dependencies. So we can see that cities total depends on cities count, and cities count depend on landing, and landing itself depend on cities CSV. So we can track the whole dependency chain. Well, it is admittedly not the most interesting one, but you can imagine that even with more complex one, if you have your proper references in your data form, and this is important, so the dataplex, knowledge catalog now can find it. We can track it all the way to the file itself, and we can open it in another window just as a validation exercise, and we potentially would be able to download and see what is going on. But still, we don't have that visibility into how those tables were created. So we can see that the cities total is a BigQuery table, and that's pretty much it. With a schema and so on, but it's not very interesting. What we can do on top of that, we can go into the job history, and in here we can see that there were a lot of queries, and we can filter by cities total as an exercise, and we will see that there are some queries that were done by us just now, and another 2 that were done by Dataform, looks like, because the job ID will hint at that. But we can open the details of this query and see the whole query, how the table was created actually. And in this label over here, we will see that it is actually produced by the Dataform, and the more interesting bit is that it was created from the repository of cities, and it was of type table. So what we can do next, if we are going to use our Sherlock Holmes hat, is we can go to the data form. Well, we don't need that. And in data form, we can see that, well, yeah, there is that cities repository, there is a single workspace. And for that workspace, we can go and use the compiled graph on top of everything. And in here, we would see that there are 3 files that we have: the landing, the cities count, and cities total. And those are actually tables or views that were created in a BigQuery in our project. So the full name of cities total over here is done through that my project ID dot schema dataset, which is test data and cities total, and we can go to the definition of the file and see everything and potentially find where the issue is. But as I said, in order to do that and have the dependency built correctly, you need to use references, first of all, and secondly, if you are preparing a demo like this, it will not work right now. So as soon as you enable that API, you wouldn't be able to find the lineage, and you would need to, first of all, start the execution of the whole thing. So Dataplex would be able to find that dependency, and secondly, you will need to wait something like 30 minutes until the data is available. And one more thing, the data lineage API is not free, and it will, when you enable it, it will try to calculate the lineage for every execution, and yeah, just be prepared that you will have to pay something, but it is included into the free tier, and I'm actually still on a trial. But in a free tier, you are allowed to use something like 100 DCU hours per month, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I just looked it up, but you have this monthly free usage limit. Yeah. So with that being said, that was a short demo of a data lineage that you can use. And of course, it has its own limitations, and this, what I have at the moment, it is the simplest and the fastest way to implement it. It will not give you a lot out of the box, but at least it gives you something. What you might need to include, and that's just a hint, is that first of all, you don't track at the moment what is a workspace from where the execution was done. And on top of that, you don't track what commit was done. Commit was used to run that change. So if I have some commits and not necessarily the latest one was applied to my, let's call it, production system, then it would be a little bit harder to find, and you might want to include some tags and automatic variables to track from which workspace, from which commit certain execution was done, and tag the tables accordingly. But in parallel to this one, I would highly recommend to have limitations in terms of who can do what. So the principle of least privilege, and regular users should not be able to update the tables or the data. The data should come from automated process, and everything should be traceable via your CI/CD in the first place, as usual. But that is pretty much it, and I would probably wrap my security series as it is now, and something new will come soon. Stay tuned.